Hello, welcome to Dissident Canada. My name is Tyler. As I ended off yesterday's video with, uh, Bibi is going to make more war. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts about that at any point. Uh, I believe I mentioned that I had saw proof, photographic proof, of more arms shipments from I think it was Europe going to. Pretty sure I bookmarked this, and of course I didn't. Damn it. Anyways, there was new, unannounced, not unannounced, but not publicly known arms shipment going from, again, I believe it was Northern Europe to Israel. As I said, I don't know, was it weeks before? I'm trying to think here. When did I say this? I don't actually remember, and I guess it doesn't really matter. That Bibi was going to, after the Iran debacle, when, overextended, had the United States come and bail them out a little bit, then Trump forced a, not, I guess a ceasefire is the best way to put it. The fact that that's not getting talked about right now, that there's no public, back and forth negotiations is actually kind of a good sign. Uh, Diplomacy done in the back end is always much more effective than diplomacy done in the front end. Always has been, always will be. But that's just one good thing. I did say that Bibi was going to take the pause, take the break, rearm, um, and then he would try again with Iran. I don't know if he'll have enough time between now and, say, September, when his trial date is, to properly rearm to go for round two with Iran this year. But he'll probably start something else. Like he already has. He's gone and started bombing Syria again, uh, claiming it's to protect the Druze. And multiple people have made it, abundantly clear for, I don't know, the last couple days, that the Druze were completely protected, which is a Christian sect, by the former Syrian government. As bad as Assad was, all right, you didn't have this situation, and I bet you that it's going to probably spiral out of control, because you have what was, I believe, I think the current leader of Syria was the number one on the FBI's most wanted list. I know he was on the top 10. Forgive me if I'm forgetting exactly which number he was. So, maybe don't screw around in other countries and do stuff, because you end up with unintended consequences. Anyways, Bibi's ramped up the war again in Syria. Again, likely due to the fact that September he has a trial date, and his history is using war to avoid jail time. And considering he has very little support in his own country, it's gonna be hard for him. Like, all he has is the hardline right wing faction that is relatively small, and that is very much in favor of him, because they're getting their, greater Israel type situation going on. Um, Now, before again I go any further, I'm gonna reiterate this. I believe I've said this. Israel is not committing genocide. I'm not trying to underplay what they are doing. I'm just not overplaying it because people don't understand that having sliding definitions is a bad idea. What they are trying to do is ethnically cleanse a region, which again, horrible is all shit. Like again, horrible thing to do. But there is a massive difference between all the people in this region must move by any means necessary, whether that is by bombs or other means, versus this particular group of people, due to whatever reason, must die all over. Like, big difference, all right? The fact that people are loosening the definition of genocide is really terrible, but this is it's why you can say genocidal, but not genocide. All right? You understand that? So, I bring this up because there is continued shenanigans going on. Again, real evil shit going on in Gaza and the West Bank. In the West Bank, you've got Israel coming under fire because now you have Israeli settlers doing what they were doing for a while now, but now to American citizens. And you've got the likes of Mike Huckabee, who is extremely pro-Israel, extremely fucking pissed. If you lose Huckabee, you may want to reevaluate what the hell you're doing, is what I'm getting at, all right? To the point where it came out yesterday that not only is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel and I think five NGOs as well, are trying to gather right-wing MAGA influencers inside the United States to bring them to Israel and do like some PR to mitigate the damage that Benjamin Netanyahu has done. This signals two things to me. One, they finally understand that their PR image is very bad in America, and for that matter, the rest of the world, because of what they've done, and they're trying to do damage control. All right? And two, the Bibi's not stopping. All right? What's happening in Syria is just a footnote to attempt to keep him out of jail yet again. All right? If that doesn't work, he'll throw punches again at Iran. Like, don't think that situation's over and done with. Bibi is out of fucking control at this point. Did Trump? Yes. Reining him in a little bit. Absolutely. And then Trump came to his defense in some, I don't know if it was criminal or civil court case against Bibi. Got that kiboshed. Most likely from Trump's point of view, it is Bibi and I have a rapport. I'd rather deal with him than like the likely leftist reactionary to Bibi. Like, it's one of those situations of most likely it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't. But anyway, like, there's no chance in my mind that Bibi is going to stop, which leads to some very interesting questions. Most of them logistics of like, can they rearm fast enough so that their country doesn't get pummeled and then, has to just not has to, but in the result disintegrates? Can they get reliable arms shipments? Because again, if you look at polling data of relatively accurate pollsters, support for Israel among, like, just look at America, where you have historically some of the highest support for Israel, among the groups that have the highest support of Israel, that is no longer, 80, 90%, you're basically at 50-50. And if you look at what really matters is the youngest generations in those groups. So what I'm specifically talking about is evangelicals in America. If you look at young evangelicals, they want nothing to do with Israel at all. Which again brings me back to that point I made of if Bibi goes back into Iran, and we know he was having issues with Iran when they were firing, missiles at each other, and the Israelis were doing airstrikes. Yes, Iran was having issues with its air defense. Absolutely, that's a given. Same thing goes for Israel. Because reports were coming out more and more as time went on. More and more of those missiles were doing more and more damage. All right? And like I said last year, when the Iranians were firing what appeared to be old stock, they would eventually run out of the old missiles that you use first. The not as good stuff. When they started using the good stuff, the Israelis would be, their Iron Dome would be in trouble. That happened. So, again, the question is, what happens to Israel as a nation when Bibi overplays every card he has, every hand, overextends, and now Israel's in a position where it needs support, otherwise it's going to be overrun. Now, the question is, what does that overrunning look like? Okay? If it's war with Iran, Iran knows, at least the leadership does, the position that the country is in and what they can and cannot get away with to a large extent. If you don't believe me, look at all the tactical, calculated responses they have made. Okay? It's very much in the position of, say, Russia, where Russia understands how it can respond and how it cannot. So, this is very quickly going to be in the playbook, or not the playbook, in the hands of the Iranians, or whoever Bibi starts, to pick a fight with, of how bad this can get. Because, Europe is having an existential crisis on what to do with Russia winning the Ukraine war, and has been for, a year and a half, when it became, very clear that the Russians were going to win. And as it becomes more and more clear, they start losing their shit, because from there, they're not able to put themselves in anybody else's shoes. They're thinking what they would do if they were winning in a similar situation like Russia. They're not thinking like the Russians would. So they're having their freakouts, and you can see them in public, and it's crazy. So Europe's very much busy with that. They have their entire, 1 point whatever trillion dollar, this is not a stimulus package to stimulate the European economy. Totally not. To rearm themselves. Canada, we have a very similar situation with that. We're no longer in the position to do what we did in World War II and World War I, which is feed Europe or any conflict a whole shit ton of arms. And then if we move down south to the Americans, they're in a very similar position. Except you could have a full-on MAGA civil war if Israel overextends and Donald Trump is like, we're going in, boys. Like, very nasty down there. What you saw with the, I don't want to say freak out because it was a logical response to the president saying no new wars and almost getting sucked into a new war. And the people who said, oh yeah, no, have faith in your president, trust the plan, those people lost the plot. Because remember, Trump was straight up saying, no, we're going to regime change. And the Israelis were like, yeah, no, we're actively trying to do this. And then they came out afterwards, were like, oh yeah, totally. Trump said no to the strikes on Kamani. We just couldn't fucking find them. We were trying. If we had found them, we would have destroyed them. Like, anyways, trying to figure out where I was heading with this. Like, oh right, you get to this point of, if Israel overextends and they run low on supplies, who's coming to bail them out? Could they do a deal with, say, the Indians for arms? Possibly, but I don't think Modi at this point is cool with what Israel is doing. Like, plus, Modi's kind of got to contend still with Pakistan. There is a tentative deal in place. Again, diplomacy behind the scenes, absolutely more effective than what's going on. But, like, you have to wonder when, at this point, Bibi overextends, who's going to come to his aid? And you look around the world, and there's not many people who can. I mean, it's the same position for, say, if kicks off with Iran, right? Who can actually extend long-term support to the Iranians? Well, the Russians are dealing with Ukraine. China's dealing with massive internal struggles. All right. North Korea is, again, North Korea and can send some support, but it's in a very, North Korea is in a worse position than Iran when it comes to keeping a boot on the people's neck, and in that case worse than China because they went full totalitarian. So how much support they can send is not, it's not a whole hell of a lot. Whereas on the other side of the aisle, I mean, you've got some political support for, say, the Palestinians, Gazans, however you want to say it, all around the world at this point. So, like, it'll be a hell of a thing. Yeah. And if that trial with Bibi goes forward, okay, let's say Trump doesn't, come in and quash it, all right? Say it goes forward. I think Bibi does something drastic, and everybody will look at him and go, "Are you fucking insane?" It may be war with Iran. It may be something else. Who knows? He may just send the IDF fully into Syria and say, screw it, we're going to make Greater Israel because that's the only political ally I have. Who knows? Like, bets are off the table other than the fact that this doesn't stop. Like, nobody has successfully reined Bibi in. Okay? Yes, Donald Trump stopped Bibi from going further with Iran, but he said, you go further, I'm out. And what has he now done? He's gone into Syria. All right? that's not really stopping Bibi. That's smacking him on the wrist. He goes around the corner and then punches someone else in the face. Like, it's totally different situation. So I completely expect Bibi to go further. Like, you know, it's just, who does he want to start shit with? You know, at, at this point, I would not be surprised if Bibi decided to make a deal with the leadership of Egypt to go after the Muslim Brotherhood inside of Egypt and be like, hey, we'll send Mossad, they'll do something, and then we can go kick your problem in the face. Like, I would not put that off the table. Like, who knows how likely it is, but again, Bibi is only caring about himself, and in doing so, he could collapse that nation, the nation of Israel. So, as I leave you with that, I will see you tomorrow with probably a white pill. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But until then, have a good day.